Okay, Happy New Year, everyone. Today I wanted to offer a reflection about self-compassion and trauma and Christine Neff's work around self-compassion. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit today. Speaking with clients yesterday, and my work is a lot with ex-boarders and also people who've been through trauma. And what I often see is that we're very hard on ourselves. As Pete Walker in his book Complex PTSD talks about this inner critic. We've got an outer critic and an inner critic, critical of others, but critical of ourselves. And I notice as ex-boarders, certainly trauma survivors, been through childhood trauma, we often have a very virile and kind of vicious inner critic. And one of the ways that we can learn to soften this is with self-compassion. Christine Neff is a professor. I'm not sure where she is, but today I just want to talk of 3 things which really help cultivate self-compassion. The first thing is this idea of common humanity. And Christine Neff talks about this idea that we're not alone and that we have this common human experience. And I see that certainly for my clients as ex-boarders, we think we're alone. And that's why doing the men's circles or doing groups or workshops, like Nick Duffel's workshops, you suddenly see I'm not alone. Someone else has had this experience. And we can have that common humanity. I think one of our struggles as ex-boarders is that we learned to not speak up. It was wrong to speak up. There was something, unwritten rule. You just don't speak up. And therefore you can't hear the common human experience. I've heard stories from people who lost their father while at school, and because they were told not to talk about it, show emotion, they didn't realize that a friend a few beds along had also lost their father, and you never talked about it. And it's like that common humanity. So this is the first thing in starting to heal this, is to go, I'm not alone. If I've struggled with whatever childhood trauma, to know that so many people. I was speaking to the author Shashi Saluna on my podcast, and she said she feels 100% of us have had some form of trauma in our lives, and in my clinical work I tend to agree. She also talks about, in self-compassion, we're always recovering. We're always on the journey. And again, in her book Trauma and Recovery, Judith Herman says very similar. The journey of healing is ongoing. So to understand that when you're struggling, it's okay. This is normal. To realize that everyone struggles. It comes to teachings of Buddhism as well, this idea in the 4 Noble Truths of the first noble truth is there is suffering. Everyone suffers. There is suffering in the world. To understand it's not because there's something wrong with you. So that's the first thing about cultivating self-compassion, is you're not alone. Second thing is about kindness. And this as well, I remember the abbot saying to me, and talking about meditation, is that when the mind wanders in meditation, you imagine it's like a child falling over who's learning to walk. And how would you pick the child up? And, most of us would immediately say with love, with kindness. And this is the same self-compassion, is that if you mess up, be kind. What we often do as ex-boarders, trauma survivors, is we're brutal with ourselves. We're like, you idiot, why the hell did you do that? Because that kept us safe. It kept the 30 other boys or the 30 other girls in the dormitory away from us. But as we get older, we need to challenge that inner voice. Those children are no longer there. We need to start cultivating kindness. And this is Christine Neff's words are, treat yourself the way you would treat a beloved child who has suffered an injury of some kind. And for most of us, we have suffered an injury, a psychological injury, but that's just as impactful as a physical injury. The third thing she talks about is mindfulness, which, again, a big thing with Buddhism, allowing ourselves to feel. And she says, step back and notice where we're not being compassionate with ourselves. Be mindful. I'm being quite hard on myself. That inner critic. Pete Walker. And when I spoke to Richard Grannon on my podcast, he talks about this being very firm with the inner critic. No. So where am I not being compassionate with myself? And just, being firm. And, this kind of links into the work of Viktor Frankl, and he talks about this idea of stepping in between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp during the war, and he wrote the book, The Man's Search for Meaning. And he talks about this idea of, stepping in between stimulus and response. So something happens, difficult. Do we immediately go, you idiot? Or do we step in between? Can we do something? Take a breath. Show some more compassion. Have some mindfulness. Oh, I want to do this. Welcome. Just bringing that awareness in. And as Abraham Maslow also says, he says there are no perfect human beings. So to understand that, when we're being hard on ourselves, why haven't I done this? There's no perfect human beings. I'm doing my best. And yes, some people say, well, it's good to be hard on yourself. And it's not good to be hard on ourselves. Yes, we can look and, have a look at how we've done in a certain situation, but we don't do it with hatred. We do it with love. We do it with a magnifying glass rather than a hammer. So I just thought I'd just share self-compassion, because I feel this is a really important thing, especially this time of year, is to start to show compassion towards yourself. So first thing is common humanity. How can I see that I'm not the only one? Wow, lots of people struggle, especially this time of year. Second thing is this idea of kindness. How can I be kind? What can I do which is kind to myself? Go to bed early, have a warm bath, read a lovely book, go for a walk, spend time with good friends. How can I be kind? And the third thing is mindfulness, like bringing that mindful awareness. When you're wanting to be hard on yourself, welcome. So just those three ideas there. And on podcast, I'm speaking to this author on Monday. We're going live next Friday, Andrew Kavchak, about his experiences of Westminster School, and it's called Reflections of a Border. I've read about half of it so far. It's great, really interesting, and I love how he's drawn a lot of the history in, some really powerful things in there, talking about the 1960s, saying why boarding school is good. And it just seems so bizarre reading it. And also the film, we're doing a retreat in a month's time, we've been doing a lot of organising for that, which is exciting. And the fundraiser is coming to an end in the next 2 weeks. So it's been going for 60 days. We've raised about $8,000. Please keep going, supporting us, sharing with people, family, friends. It's like, let's get this film made. I spoke to someone quite well known in the public eye before Christmas, and they want to be interviewed as they've got a book coming out. So this is exciting stuff. So let's really get this message out. I'll put a link in the description. So please do share. Happy New Year to you, and bless you. And invitation is bring some self-compassion in. We are all worthy of that compassion and that love, no matter what terrible things we think we've done. And I've done some really bad things in my life to myself. So just invite you to have compassion. Okay, bless you.